Welcome to Thera History, stories of wars, remarkable people, forgotten places, powerful ideas, and the extraordinary events that shaped human history across the world. A city larger than an ancient kingdom, a civilization surrounded by the ocean. And one day, according to an ancient story, it simply disappeared beneath the waves. For more than 2,000 years, the name Atlantis has haunted historians, explorers, archaeologists, and dreamers. But was Atlantis a real place? Or was it one of history's greatest fictional stories? The mystery begins in ancient Greece, with one of the most famous philosophers who ever lived, Plato. Around the 4th century BC, Plato described Atlantis in two philosophical works, Timaeus and Critias. According to the story, Atlantis was an extraordinarily powerful island civilization located beyond the Pillars of Heracles, commonly associated with the Strait of Gibraltar. Plato claimed that Atlantis existed thousands of years before his own time. It was not described as a small, forgotten settlement. It was a vast and wealthy civilization. The island possessed fertile plains, mountains, waterways, harbors, temples, palaces, and enormous defensive walls. At the heart of the capital stood a magnificent city built around a series of enormous circular rings of land and water. Bridges connected the rings. Ships could travel through channels toward the center. At the very center stood a sacred temple dedicated to the god Poseidon, decorated with gold and other precious materials. Atlantis, in Plato's account, had everything associated with greatness: wealth, military power, advanced engineering, abundant natural resources, and an enormous population. The Atlanteans eventually became powerful enough to expand their influence across the Mediterranean world. But then came the most important part of the story. According to Plato, Atlantis became corrupted by its own power. Its rulers became increasingly ambitious and aggressive. The civilization that had once possessed greatness began to lose its sense of justice and moderation. Standing against Atlantis was ancient Athens. Plato presented the Athenians as defenders of courage, discipline, and virtue. Eventually, conflict erupted between Athens and Atlantis. In the story, Athens resisted the Atlantean expansion and defeated the powerful island civilization. Then came the catastrophe. Plato wrote that earthquakes and floods struck Atlantis. In a single terrible period, the island disappeared beneath the sea. The civilization was gone. Its armies vanished. Its magnificent buildings disappeared. Its wealth was swallowed by the ocean. And the location of Atlantis became one of history's greatest unanswered questions. For centuries, Atlantis remained primarily a philosophical story. But during the 19th century, something changed. Writers and researchers began treating Plato's account as a possible description of a real civilization. Suddenly, the search for Atlantis began. Proposed locations appeared across the world. Some suggested the Mediterranean. Others pointed toward the Atlantic Ocean, the Canary Islands, the Azores, the Caribbean, even Antarctica. Almost every generation seemed to produce a new theory. One of the most famous possibilities connected Atlantis with the ancient Minoan civilization of Crete and the island of Thera, now known as Santorini. Thousands of years ago, Thera experienced one of the largest volcanic eruptions known from human history. The eruption was enormous. Ash spread across the region. Tsunamis struck nearby coastlines. Settlements were damaged or destroyed. The Minoan civilization eventually declined. For some researchers, the destruction of Thera provided a tempting explanation for the Atlantis legend. Could memories of a real catastrophe have survived through generations and eventually become the story told by Plato? It is possible, but there is a major problem. Plato's Atlantis was supposedly located beyond the Pillars of Heracles, while Santorini lies in the eastern Mediterranean. The dates also do not perfectly match, and there is another possibility. Perhaps Atlantis never existed at all. Many classical scholars believe Plato created Atlantis as a philosophical example. The story may have been designed to demonstrate what happens when a powerful society becomes arrogant, greedy, and morally corrupted. In that interpretation, Atlantis was never meant to be discovered. It was meant to teach. Yet the mystery refuses to disappear. Modern technology has transformed the search. Satellites can map enormous areas of the Earth's surface. Sonar can examine underwater landscapes. Archaeologists can investigate ancient settlements with extraordinary precision. And still, no confirmed archaeological evidence has revealed a civilization matching Plato's Atlantis. No inscription has conclusively identified the lost city. No palace has been proven to be its capital. No ancient document has provided its exact location. Atlantis remains suspended between history and legend. Perhaps somewhere beneath the Mediterranean or Atlantic Ocean lie ruins still waiting to be discovered. Perhaps an ancient natural disaster inspired the story. Or perhaps Atlantis existed only in Plato's imagination. That uncertainty is precisely what makes the legend so powerful. Unlike many ancient mysteries, Atlantis has no final ending. There is no confirmed location, no definitive ruins, no final piece of evidence. Only an ancient story describing a civilization of extraordinary wealth and power that disappeared beneath the sea. More than 2,000 years later, the question remains exactly the same. Was Atlantis a real civilization destroyed by catastrophe, or was it a warning created by one of history's greatest philosophers? Until evidence finally answers that question, Atlantis will remain one of the most enduring mysteries in human history. This is Thera History, where the forgotten, mysterious, and extraordinary stories of the past come alive. For more stories from the hidden chapters of world history, subscribe to Thera History, like the video, and leave a comment with the verdict. Atlantis, lost civilization or ancient legend, and return for another extraordinary story from history.